12-2 Nation, what's going on? Coach Joe here. I am super, super pumped for tonight in our very first master class call on the topic of identity. And what we're doing this month is something special, something that we're going to be doing not every month, but are going to be doing more and more in the future, and is giving you guys opportunities like this to come alongside, join us in the journey, join us in the process, like we talked about on our last group call and talk about so much on our social media, and really just join in and see what it looks like to get 1% better every single day, to do the small things today so that we can incrementally get better over time. Because remember what we talk about so much here at 12-2 is it's the little things you do today that make lasting change over time, that make a lasting difference over time. And so today we're going to be talking about identity. That's going to be night one of this master class series. And then tomorrow we're going to be talking about routines, championship routines, and then ultimately championship habits, and what that looks like and how we can change our mindset, shift our perspective, shift our really the way we look at things, the way we do things, the way we operate, and so that we can utilize our strengths to the best of our abilities and ultimately put our best foot forward on the field, on the court, wherever that is for you. And so tonight, really, we're going to start with the most important thing. The thing that I feel like in society today, that I know so many people feel like in society today is not talked about enough, but is a huge issue, a huge problem, and that is identity. People don't know who they are. People are putting on a mask, they're putting on a persona, they're putting on a face, a facade of I'm this person, or I think I'm this person, or they find their identity in their sport, in what they do and not who they are. And I can tell you for a long time that was a part of my story, and that's exactly what happened to me. That's exactly why I'm sitting where I am today talking to you guys about identity. And it's because it's something that hits so near and dear to my heart, hits so close to home, because from the time that I could pick up any sort of sports ball, a football, a basketball, a baseball, whatever it was, a soccer. But by the time I could kick a soccer ball, run around, it was sports. It was sports, sports, sports. That's who I was. That's what I did. That's what I do. It's nothing else. And it was everything, everything to me. It was my identity. You would ask me, "Hey, what's your name? What do you do?" I'm Joe Burton, the football player, or I'm Joe Burton, the basketball player. And that's who I was. It was nothing more, nothing less. And I found my identity wrapped up in my sport. Again, I know I've said it 1,000 times, probably it sounds like already, but it's truly what I was and who I was, who I saw myself as. And it wasn't till my junior year of high school that I got it ripped away from me, or so it felt like. It was injuries that piled up, piled up, piled up to a huge bombshell injury, or so it felt like, that ended up ending my athletic career and really caused me to take a step back, reevaluate who I was, where I was going, where I wanted to go, and truly reshape and reframe my identity as a whole, right? And so tonight, that's where we're going to be diving into is this topic of identity, this topic of who am I and not what am I. It's this topic of really at the core, who are you? At the core, what do you believe in? What do you value? If I ask those closest to you what your character is, what you believe in, what you stand for, how you operate, what you're passionate about. It's who you are, right? It's who you are. It's so much more than what we do or what we are, right? Because what we are, we might be an athlete. We might be a volleyball player. We might be a basketball player. The football state championship is tomorrow night. It's West Side versus Millard South, right? And so many of those athletes that are going to be running out on that field, I was in their exact shoes. And I can tell you that a lot of them probably think that they are a football player and not much more than that. Well, that is a lie. That is a lie. And tonight we're going to be uncovering those lies. We're going to be ripping them up And we're going to start to reframe, reshape, and just reevaluate everything because we're going to get to the root of who we are. Who we are. If you don't remember anything else from this call, I want you to remember this. It is not a what, but it is a who we are. We are going to establish our identity, and that is who we are and not what we are. All right. So why does your identity matter? We talked a lot about this, even or briefly, I guess, kind of kicked off the call a little bit, really getting in deep to why identity matters because it's who we are, right? Knowing your identity matters because at the root, your identity is who you are. It's who you are. It's what shapes you, what molds you. It's when you walk into a room, it's what people see you as. They feel your presence. They know you're in the room because you're kind, you're genuine, you're honest, you're filled with integrity, grit, hard work, determination. It's who you are. You're not your sport. You're not your performance. You're not who others say you are, but you are at the core who you say you are and who Jesus says you are. And so a lot of the times we put our identity in our sport. We put our identity in our performance. We put this one's a huge one. We put our identity in who others say we are. Whether it's your parents or your friends or your teammates or your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your grandparents. It's, oh my gosh, you're the athlete or you're the football player. Or I know our teammates a lot of the times it's you're the star player or you're the quarterback or you're the guy who this game falls on, right? But really no, like you are you. And at the core, that's what truly matters. That's your identity and all of this other stuff that comes along with it, the games, the performance, the sport, the friendships, all of it, that's just to add on. That's just a thing. That's what you do. It's not who you are, it's what you do, right? And so knowing your identity impacts your performance, your motivation, your fulfillment, and so much more. Because if you don't know who you are, how can you go be the best you? If someone's told you to go do your thing, to go let loose and play your game, but if you don't even know what your game is, how can you play it to the best of your abilities? How can you show up and give everything that you got, bring your skill set, your talents, your abilities? How can you do it? How can you do that? How can you bring that to the table if you don't know who you are? Sorry, I'm having trouble here sharing my screen. And so sorry, I was having trouble with the screen. So I hope you guys can see that a little bit better now. And so when we really break down the identity, when we really break down why it matters, who we are, what we are at our core, right? Not who others say we are, not our performance, but who Jesus says we are, who we say we are, who we know we are. You can really begin to ask yourself these questions. How do you currently see your identity? Is it more impacted on who you are or what you do? And I think that's a question we need to ask ourselves daily. I think that's a question we need to ask ourselves as we step into an event, as we step into a game, as we step into anything that maybe seem large or big, or maybe you're getting ready to speak in front of a crowd. Um, is your identity wrapped up in that, wrapped up in what other people are going to think, what other people are going to say, or or is your identity wrapped up in who you are and who you already know you are, right? And so that's a question like we need to ask ourselves on the daily is how do we see our identity? How do we see ourself? How do you feel when your expectations aren't met in your sport? Does it affect how you see yourself? If you have a bad game, if you don't live up to the expectation of yourself, to your parents, to your peers. Um, reality is we all have bad games. We all throw the game losing interception, the game winning, game losing fumble. We miss a tackle, we miss the buzzer beater, we miss the free throw, we foul at the wrong time. The reality is things don't always go our way. And so when those things happen, when our expectations aren't met, because I know a lot of your expectations are probably to be perfect, and that's not the reality. And I lived that way for a long time. And does it affect how you see yourself? Do those games, do those days, do they affect how you see yourself? And I think that's another question we need to ask because it ties back to our identity. It's how we see ourselves. And then this question really hit close to home. And I think it's a question that we need to ask ourselves and we need to really sit on and really get to the core of it. If your sport randomly got taken away from you tomorrow, how would that impact your sense of identity? And I talked a little bit about it at the very beginning, but this question rocked me to my core because it's exactly what happened to me. It was a random game, a random day, November 6th, 2019, I want to say it was. Um, Random routine tackle, go in, was a screenplay to the right. I remember it like it was like in the back of my head. And routine, wrap up, turn to bring him down to the ground, football, and boom, pop, shoulders gone, rotator cuff, labrum, dislocated, ended up having to get surgery, out for over a year, ended up never coming back and being the same player, and eventually had to medically retire because of it. And so my sport randomly got taken away from me on a day that I was just expecting to wake up and play a normal game, filled with normal tackles, filled with normal plays, filled with normal routines and coaches and teammates. But it got taken away, and it rocked me, and it rocked me at the core, and it made me question, who am I? What do I do? Where do I go? And so that's why I want to sit here today, and I want to help you because I don't want that to happen. I don't want you to get hurt tomorrow, or get hurt ever and have to question your identity and who you are. Because remember, your identity isn't in what you do, but it's in who you are. And so let's find our identity before it comes to that, before it comes to rock bottom, before our sport ever gets taken away, before we get hurt, before we hit the wall, before we hit the hurdle. Let's find our identity first because it matters above everything. So here we have identity versus performance. Your identity is who you are, right? It's what I've been saying since we started this call. It probably sounds like a broken record, but I want you to remember that. Identity is who you are, it's your values, it's your character, it's what you believe in, it's your beliefs, it's your unique traits, it's those things that only you have, that nobody else has, that God has gifted you uniquely with. It's things that are internal, it's things that are in the heart, it's things that are inside of you that people may not see um on the outside, right? But when you walk into a room, they feel it. They feel your humor, they feel your genuineness, your kindness, your soul, your identity. It's who you are. These things remain consistent regardless of any circumstance or outcomes in sports or life. These things are not defined by a score. These things are not defined by an outcome. These things are not defined by a play or a season, but they are who you are. And then performance, right? It's your actions, it's your achievements, it's your rewards, the results, it's the wins, the losses, the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the twists, the turns. It's all of it. It's performance, and it's all external because these things are not consistent. They are always changing. It's again the wins and the losses, the successes and the failures. It's what people can look at and see. It's what we chase so heavily. The wins, the losses, the celebration, the spotlight. We chase it. We want that. But guess what? It's the things that don't last. It's the things that'll go away. They will fade away. It's the things that you can't take with you. But if you look right over here, identity, these are the things that are going to last, that you're going to take with you, that people are going to remember about you, your values, your characters, the way you treated people, your unique traits. right? It's identity versus performance. It's again right here. It's who you are. Identity is who you are. Performance is what you do, and it's a constant fight. It's a constant battle that we have to that we have to get up and fight every day because we are not what we do. We are not what we do, but we are who we are. We are who we are. The danger of performance-based identity. When you get into this rabbit hole of performance, of striving to do more, 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 it's a danger. It's a danger because you're never going to walk in fulfillment of your full potential, of who God intended you to be, of who you know that you can be, of the goals that you've set for yourself. If you're striving to reach a scale up here and you just keep falling short, or maybe you get there, maybe you do get there, you get lucky enough to get there, well, the scale is just going to keep raising and you're going to keep chasing and chasing and chasing you're going to burn out. You're going to lose confidence. You're going to lose resilience. Nothing wrong with setting goals, but when that's why you do it, when your identity gets wrapped up in that, that's when it begins to be dangerous. The danger of performance-based identity is that you are always striving for more, kind of like I talked about, right? Setting it. You're always chasing, chasing, chasing. You're always striving for more. You're always striving for the next thing, looking more at what's to come rather than focusing on what's right in front of you now. I tell my boys this all the time. We think the grass is greener on the other side, but really the grass is going to be greener where we water it. You see, especially in today's society, everybody wants the spotlight. Everybody wants the starting spot. Everybody wants what's best for them. It's a me, me, me society. We have the iPhone. It's I. We have the selfie. It's self, right? Everybody wants what's best for them. And so we think if we just go here, if we just do there, if we just can get to this position, everything is going to be better. Everything is going to be all right on the other side. But no, we need to take a step back and realize the grass isn't greener over there. The grass is going to be greener where I water it. The grass is going to be greener where I put my full effort, my full determination, my full work ethic, my full attention to. That's where the grass is going to be greener. I'll say it again, the grass is never greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. And so we need to make sure we're watering our grass, right? And performance-based identity may result in a limited self sense of purpose, force resilience to setbacks, and a lack of confidence, right? Because if you are striving for performance, if you are doing it because of you want to get here or get there, or really just kind of meet an expectation of somebody who's not yourself, you're gonna lose confidence. You're gonna burn out. You're not gonna love it, right? You're not gonna put your best foot forward every day because you don't even know who you are yet. You're in your performance-based identity and not finding your identity in who you know you are. And so questions that fall into this category is, how do you describe yourself without mentioning sports or accomplishments? See, there was a time in my life where I couldn't do it. I didn't know how. And so I challenge you, take a notepad, take a piece of paper, take a pen, and write down, who am I without sports? If I take away volleyball, basketball, football, track, hockey, whatever it may be, I take that away tomorrow. It's gone. Who are you? Who are you? How do you describe yourself? You get asked an icebreaker in class. Hey, without describing athletics, without athletics, tell me five to six things about yourself. What are you gonna say? And then the second one is, what steps can you take today to separate your self-worth from your athletic results? And I think the second question flows into that first one perfectly, because if you can write down 5 to 6 things that you are without sports, aside from sports, who are you? What would you say about yourself? Build off of that with that second question is, what steps can you take today to grow in those 5 to 6 things? to grow in those 5 to 6 areas and continue to stay rooted in your identity of not what you do, but who you are. This is a big one, is staying true to our identity in the midst of adversity. Because adversity is not a matter of if, but when. I've heard it said that, hey, we're either in the middle of a storm, we're coming out of one, or we're getting ready to go into one. Adversity hits us all. It doesn't pick favorites. It doesn't choose sides. Adversity hits us all. So it is not a matter of if, but when. And when adversity hits, we need to stay true to our identity, to our values, to our beliefs, to what we know about ourselves, because we need to stay rooted. We need to stay grounded. Remember, we need to water the grass where we're standing and not wish that we were on somebody else's grass way over there in that field that we don't belong in. We belong to water our own grass, to stay in our field, to stay in our lane, because it goes back to our identity of who we are. We are made for the moments that we stand in, for the trials that we go through the fire, through everything. God has made us, He has crafted us, He has crafted you to go through the exact battle that you're walking through today. Adversity is bound to happen, but it doesn't have to shake your identity. You are who you are, and you are who you are becoming, right? You aren't your past. You aren't what happened to you. You aren't the game. You aren't the score. You aren't who that coach once said you were. You aren't who your teammates say you are. You ain't the the battle of life. That's not you. You are you. You are your values, what you believe in, your character. You are you at the core. God created you and knew you and had a purpose and a plan for you way before today. And so in the midst of adversity, we can stay true to that. How do we stay true to the midst to adversity? How do we stay true in the midst of adversity? We know our identity at the core. We know our identity at the core. We know our values, our beliefs, what we stand for, what we believe in. We separate our identity from our circumstance. Again, we're not a win. We're not a loss. We are not a stat sheet. We are so much more. And then this one, we lean into our faith. Leaning on your faith gives you something to cling to that will never change. It will never go away. It will never run. It will never waver. Right? Rain will come, wind will blow, but we have a firm foundation in our faith that we can stand on, that we can put trust in, that we can stand firm in. And so we lean on something that will never change. And then this one is I talk to a lot of my athletes about is remember why you started playing the game you love. You didn't start playing the game you love to win all the time. You didn't start playing the game you love to chase stats, to go play in college likely, to to keep going and striving and striving and striving and striving for more and more and more and more and more and more and more. You started playing the game because you loved the game. You had fun. You had fun. So when adversity hits, when adversity strikes, bring your mind back to that. Think of games, think of times when you were having the most fun, when you were doing your thing, when you were playing your game, right? When you were having the most fun. And go back to that. Go back to those shoes where you're standing playing the game you love. Because I heard it last weekend on a Thursday night football interview by Jameis Winston. Everybody loves Jameis Winston because he even said, we're playing a kid's game. We get the opportunity to go out and play professional sports, we get the opportunity, you get the opportunity to go out and play sports every single day. And that's a privilege, that's a blessing, and that's fun. So have fun. In the midst of adversity, remember why. Remember why you started playing. And then question, what adversity have you faced in the past that has helped shape your identity? Another way to look at this, of staying true to identity in the midst of adversity, is looking at your identity of not a why, but a what. Is not why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this? But hey, what can I learn from this? What can I get out of this? What can I do differently next time that I was maybe doing poorly this past time? Look at it as a what. And then when you're far enough removed, look and see how it shaped you, right? Like I can look back on my shoulder injury that I told you guys a little bit about earlier and say that made me the man I am today. That was a huge, not fully, but it played a huge role in who I am. I told you I wouldn't be sitting here without it. I wouldn't be as passionate about the mental side of athletics if it wasn't for that injury, because it broke me. It shook me at the core, and I truly had to figure out who am I, and I figured it out. And so in the midst of my adversity, I found a part of my identity. What do you let define you? Um, Things that often define us but shouldn't. Our performance, our success, other people's opinions, our role or our position on the team. All things we've kind of talked about tonight. And what should we let define us? Again, we're going to go back to it. We're going to go back to character. We're going to go back to effort, values, faith, purpose. At the end of this call, we're going to take some time to really sit down and write an identity action plan, and it's going to really fall under these things of what should we let define us, and it's going to be picking things out about us. What is your character? If I were to ask you that, what would you say are some characteristics that stand out about you? How's your effort? This is one thing that we can control day in and day out. We get out of bed, we can control our effort. Are we going to give everything we got, or are we going to sit back, relax, and not get better? Our values. What do we really stand for? What are we aiming towards? What do we believe in? Our faith. What do we have faith in? And then our purpose, right? All of these things combined, I think, can make a little bit um flow a little bit into that purpose box. I think that's the $1 million question. Everybody wants to know their purpose. And I think if we can get up and just get 1% better every day and work to get better, be the best version of you, know your identity and walk in that that's part of the purpose, right? Is walking in your true identity of knowing who you are, why you were made, and living with a sense of joy because of it. And I think that falls into that purpose category. So I want you guys to know this. I just wanted to read this to you guys and read it over you really. And it's you are not defined by a scoreboard, a statistic, or someone else's opinion. What defines you is the person you are becoming, the values you live by, and the effort you give, and the impact you have on others. Let your identity be rooted in something deeper than performance, and you'll find strength and confidence that lasts far beyond a game. And I want you guys to take a minute, take a picture of that. Um, if you're a really fast writer, that'd be super impressive. Write it down really fast. But I just want you guys to know that you are not defined by a scoreboard, statistic, or someone else's opinion. What defines you is the person you are becoming, the values you live by, the effort you give, and the impact you have on others. Let your identity be rooted in something deeper than performance, and you'll find strength and confidence that lasts far beyond a game. And so a question, right, that falls under the identity, falls under what do you let define you, is how do you want to be remembered? We put so much emphasis on letting people define us on our actions on the scoreboard, right? But it's how do you want to be remembered one day? When you graduate, when you leave Gretna East, when you leave Millard West, when you leave Millard South, Elkhorn, Scott, the endless, right? The endless list of schools. How do you want to be remembered? Because I guarantee you, people won't always remember what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. They're not going to remember you carrying off that trophy on Friday night. They're not going to remember the state championship medals that you did or didn't win. I can't even look back and think right now what other sports have won multiple state championships when I was in high school. People won't remember the accolades, but they will remember how you made them feel and how you made them just feel seen and known and heard and valued. People will remember you for how you treated them, right? I can look back. You can name Every single one of my high school teammates, and I'll be able to tell you the way that they treated people, the way that they stood for themselves, for their team, for the people around them. Um, and and it's something that I can look back on and say confidently that again, people don't always remember what you will do, but they will remember how you made them feel. And so this is a slide that I'm super pumped. I'm super pumped about. A good friend of mine, Josh Dotzler, talks about so much about playing and living on purpose for a purpose, right? And he's a CEO of Abide, ex-Creighton basketball player, and talking about injuries so much tonight. I've had the opportunity to sit down with him, and he's told me so often how much he struggled with identity, and getting hurt and trying to figure out who he was and where to go and what to do. And so he took some time. I just want to thank him. Took some time to film a little video talking about some of his new books that he just released here within the last, within the last month and a half or so. And they are literally titled "Playing on Purpose," living on purpose, knowing your purpose, your identity, why you do what you do. And so we're gonna watch this video real quick.
Hey, what's up, guys? Josh Dotzler here, and just got my workout done, so I'm a little sweaty. But was thinking about this idea of identity and purpose, and I know I talked to Joe, and you guys are talking about this idea of identity. And I just wrote a couple of books. One of them is called "Living on Purpose." The other one's called "Playing on Purpose." And whether you're an athlete, whether you're just going through life, I believe there's nothing more powerful than doing it on purpose for a purpose. And part of it is discovering our purpose and who we're called to be. But in playing on purpose, I talk about 6 game changing skills to become an unstoppable winner. And I know every single one of you, I know for myself, man, I want to be a winner. I don't want to just play games. I don't want to just go through the motions. I don't want to just compete. I want to be a winner. And part of being a winner, the first skill I talk about is understanding that winning isn't defined by the score. Winning isn't defined by the outcome of that particular game. Winning is more about who you're becoming. Winning is a mindset, which is why I love what Joe and the entire team is doing, because mindset matters. I just did a Insta Live with Ryan Kalkbrenner. He plays for Creighton, and he's in his 5th season there. He'll probably have an opportunity to play in the NBA. He scored 49 points in his first game. And we were talking about this idea of playing on purpose, and we were talking about mindset. And he was talking about, as he's grown as a player, you know, the margins of being great, the margins of winning are pretty small at the highest level. And he talked about the power of mindset and how his mindset has had to evolve over time. And he's had to really start to create an identity and not let, you know, a mistake he's made in the game or a loss determine how he sees himself, how he feels about himself, and ultimately who he's becoming. And so when we talk about this idea of playing on purpose, being a winner, we're talking about not being defined by the score. Winners are the type of people that show up every single day to get better. Winners are coachable. Winners are always learning and growing. Winning is a mindset. It's a mentality. And as you're thinking about what you're doing, whether it's the sport you're playing, whether it's, you know, the education, the school, homework, winners can't turn it off and turn it on. Winners and being a winner is a standard that we have to live by on a consistent basis. And so I want to encourage you to, number one, lean into what's being shared, continue to learn and grow. Part of being a winner is this idea of being a learner. And if you're always learning, you're always growing, you're always becoming better. And the goal isn't that you would be your best today or tomorrow, but that every single day you get better and you continue to become the person and player that I know God has called and created you to be. You are a person on purpose, whether you're playing, whether you're living, wherever you are, you're a winner. Make sure you show up every day to get better. Keep surrounding yourself with the right people. Focus on your mind, your mindset, man, who you're becoming. And I know ultimately you'll keep progressing and keep getting better. Play, live, lead on purpose. Let's go.
Yeah, so how about that? I thought it was awesome how he talked about how it's a mindset. It is a mindset, living on purpose, for a purpose, knowing your identity day in and day out, showing up. It's a mindset. And I think so many of us think that it's we're alone. We're alone in the battle. We're alone in the fight. We're the only people going through the daily struggles, the daily grind of the feelings that we're feeling or the feelings that we're facing. But I thought it was really interesting. Ryan Kalkbrenner, he was on a call with him last week in the middle of the week. Ryan Kalkbrenner is the best center right now in college basketball. And Josh even said he said on the call last week that he's had to learn to adjust to really not get so down on himself when he doesn't have a great game, when he messes up and has a bad play, when he may not show up and play his best game. How does he translate? How does he continue to show up and be the best version of him? And he talked about how knowing his identity, when now that he knows his identity, he can do that. Sure, it's not easy. It's a grind. It's hard, right? It's hard, but nothing that is easy is typically worth having. It's the things that are hard. It's the battles that end up being the things that are the most rewarding, right? And so we got to show up every day knowing who we are, ingrain it, put it, it's in here, it's in our mind. Like Josh, it's a mindset, knowing who we are, knowing our identity, so that when mistakes do happen, because they're bound to happen, I'm not going to lie to you, mistakes are bound to happen. I always tell my players, expect the unexpected, expect the play to go wrong, because when it does, you have a head up. You have a head up on the competition because you've already been there. You've already envisioned it. And if it doesn't go wrong, then great. You can celebrate that at the end of the game because you more than likely won. But it's a mindset. And so we just got to continue to show up day after day, like Josh said, and set the standard of doing it, of staying true to who you are, and where you're rooted and your values and your beliefs and who Jesus says you are. And so we need to be lifelong learners. It's Josh said so many profound things in that short little video. And so identity is more than just who you are. It's your foundation, your guide, your greatest strength as an athlete and as a person. When you know and embrace your true identity, you unlock the confidence, resilience, and purpose that sets you apart. And so that's why I say identity is your superpower. I say it's your superpower because nobody has the strengths, the gifts, the talents, the abilities, the capabilities that you do. You are so wonderfully and perfectly made, set apart from each and everybody or each and every person around you. And now you just need to walk in those capabilities. You need to walk in those strengths and those gifts and those talents. And the moment you can recognize them and fully walk in them and stop trying to be somebody else that maybe somebody's telling you to be, maybe it's a coach, a parent, a friend, a teammate. The second you throw that off and you run the race that's marked before you, that's when you'll start to see your full potential. That's when you'll start to see things take off. That's when you'll start to play with more confidence and more resilience and more purpose and more joy and more fun, right? And so you need to throw off everything that's not you. And you need to fly high, because identity, when you know your true identity, that's a superpower, because most people are playing weighted down. They're playing weighted down with rocks in their feet. They're weighted to the ground because they are so grounded on what other people are saying, what other people are chirping in their ear, right? But if you can walk true in who you are, you know who you are, and so you can play free. You can fly. Put on that cape. It's a superpower. Fly, right? Your identity, it grounds you, it fuels you, it builds resilience, it provides you with a sense of purpose, it sets you apart. What some questions that go along with this, or what's one thing about your identity that makes you unique? I challenge you, get out that pen and paper again. What makes you unique? What are things about you that stand out? If I go talk to your parents, your coaches, your friends, right, what would they say about you? What would they say? What would they tell me about you that stands out, that's different, right? Number two, are you living and playing in alignment to who you truly are? Or in other words, are you putting on a mask? Because I talked about it in here. When we play free, knowing who we are, gosh, we unlock something. We unlock something within us that allows us to play our best. Because we're playing free, we're having fun, and we're really doing our thing, right? And so how do we do that? How do we play in alignment to who we are and avoid putting on that mask of I'm just trying to survive because I'm trying to put on a facade for somebody else, for the coach, for the parent, for the teammate who wants me to be like this. Because I don't none of us deserve to be the person, the player, the athlete that's not walking in their true light and their true potential and their true shoes, right? And so how do we play in alignment to our identity? And so this is where I really want you guys to get out the paper, get out the pen, and we're going to walk through your identity action plan, step 1 through 6. Step 1, right? Write down 3 to 5 words that describe your core values. Um, take some time. Take some time. Do that. And do that. For me, I would say first couple that come to mind is integrity, servant leadership, grit, hard work, determination, passion. Just a couple, right? And I think this is where we're gonna see everybody's unique. Everybody has different talents, abilities, characteristics that are unique to them. And that's why it's so special, right? That's why we're all so different as players and as people. And it's why team works, right? It's why teamwork, because you get so many people who are so gifted but so different together on one team, all competing for the common goal, all competing for the common goal to go win. So if you stay true to yourself in your game, in your athletic shoes, that's what you need. That's what your team needs. Your team doesn't need another Joe Schmo. If there's a Joe, a Bob, a Bill, and a Carson on a team, Carson doesn't need to go be Bill. Joe doesn't need to go be Carson. Joe needs to be Joe. Carson needs to be Carson. Bob needs to be Bob. Bill needs to be Bill. Everybody needs to be their own because everybody's got unique talent, skill sets, abilities that they bring to the table, right? We can't try to be somebody else. And so list off 3 to 5 words that describe your core values. Number 2, identify any unhealthy influences on your identity and commit to letting them go. For me, I'd say it's the fear of letting myself down and not living up to my own expectations. I'm a perfectionist at heart. I want to be perfect. I want to do what I feel is right all the time. And sometimes I fall short. And so sometimes I have a fear of letting myself down. And it's okay. But I got to commit every day to letting that go. Step 3, ground yourself in truth. Write a statement about who you are. Example, I am someone who values growth, treats others with respect, and strives to be a positive impact. For me, I'm someone who values hard work, determination, work ethic, and getting 1% better every day. Step 4, make a list of hobbies and talents that align with your activities and your values. I'd say serving, love serving. I love working out and competing, and that really gets along with the hard work, determination, the grit, the work ethic, and getting 1% better every day. And step 5, identify 2 to 3 trusted mentors and friends. or coaches who can hold you accountable to remind you of your worth. Luckily, I have great role models and great influence in my life too. I'd say Coach Nolan, who a lot of you guys know, and then one of my other good friends, Brandon. Step 6, take daily action. Find ways to live out your identity every day in the big and the small things. And so for this, look outside for opportunities. Look to get outside your comfort zone or your box that you're normally confined in, your normal routine, and get out in the wilderness. Look for ways to put into action your identity, to live true to who you are, what you want to do, and not fall into the path of society, right? It's the Romans 12:2. It's don't be conformed to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? We don't want to be conformed. We don't want to fall into the patterns that everybody's doing, that culture says to do, that the world says to do. But we need to be transformed up here. And that starts with knowing our identity, knowing who you are, and knowing who God created you to be. And so this is the identity declaration. And I want, once you guys get done with the identity action plan, I want you guys to sit down and do this. An example, I am not defined by what I do, but who I am. My worth is not determined by my performance, accomplishments, or opinions of others. I am resilient, kind, purposeful. I choose to live with integrity, lead with compassion, and grow through challenges. My identity is rooted in my values and my character, not in titles or achievements. No matter the circumstance, I am enough simply because of who I am. And then I did one. I did an example. I said, I am not defined by the circumstances, accomplishments, or opinions that others have about me. There is not a single mistake that I could ever make in athletics or life that could ever bring me down because I know who I am because of whose I am. I'm a follower of Christ first, who is passionate, determined, gritty, and servant leader oriented. No matter the storm that comes my way, I can stand firm and stay confident because I know exactly who I am and what my identity is found in. And so after you guys do this action plan, steps 1 through 6, I want you guys to go write a declaration. And then I want you to bring it to me and I want to hear it. And I want to break it down. I want to get to the root of it with you. So we can find your true identity. And so you can walk confidently in that and be the best version of you, getting 1% better every single day. And so questions, if there's any questions about anything in this presentation, shoot Coach Nolan, Coach me, Coach Joe, or Coach Mia a message, and we would be happy to connect with you to answer any further questions on anything identity. And I want to really get down to the root one more time of, if you don't remember anything from this call, and you only remember this, I want you to remember this. You are not what you do, but you are who you are. You are you are the person that God created you to be, and you have gifts and you have talents and you have abilities beyond what anybody else does. You're perfectly and wonderfully made. You're one of one, and that is your identity. Not a scoreboard, not a game, not a performance, not a circumstance, but you're one of one. You are you. You're not any of that. You're you. You're not what you do, but you're who you are. Right. And that was the whole point of this call tonight. Because before we can go do anything, it is so vastly important that we understand who we are first, and we know whose we are. Right. And so I thank you guys for hopping on. Thank you guys for listening tonight. And I can't wait for nights 2 and 3. Coach Nolan joining in tomorrow, to really continue to break down these incredibly important topics. So let's have a good night. Let's be great.